there is a country relying on them to perform, not just their city, not just a state, a country of millions and millions of people.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point of view. I mean, I think it is something that you start to see. It's almost like a slower game in the Premier League, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and like you're describing, and I think like that's it's just interesting. But at the same time, when they go right, when the level of talent is incredible, right?
Incredible. I was watching a game last night. So usually in terms of content, the night before I'll watch YouTube and I'll watch a game or um, I'll watch another commentary show. ESPN FC, for example, is the ESPN version of the soccer talk show, and I'll watch that and I'll see what they're talking about, and I'll just write on my phone. I want to do a video on the Premier League, um, the Premier League games from this weekend, etc. But last night I was actually watching Barcelona played in a game in Spain against another really good team and lost. And I was watching the game and I was like, this reminds me of an MLS game. It was bombing up and down, balls going forward, shots on goal from outside the box, turnovers, counterattacks. And I was like, I need to start watching more Spain because the Premier League right now, and there's a rhetoric around it that it's boring. There was this past weekend three back-to-back games until a team scored. It was like 240 minutes of no goals, and my team is very can be very boring to watch. Arsenal is a very risk-averse team. We are a defensive team that keeps clean sheets. We don't give up goals, and our manager, our coach, if he could win every game 1-0, absolutely. He would be fine with it. He'd rather win 1-0 than 5-0, which sounds ironic, but he loves to keep a clean sheet, which means not giving up a goal. That's what he strives for. And that's unique in sport because, look, in baseball as a pitcher, you don't want to give up runs, but runs are going to happen. In soccer, you can go a whole game without doing what you're supposed to do or not allowing the other team to do what they're supposed to do. So Arsenal is a team that every time they go out, their first job is to not concede a goal. And then from there, when you look at it, the bare minimum is a tie because, again, in other sports, they don't have a tie. So from a manager perspective, if you can shore up the defensive part of the field and be really rigid and structured in your defensive half, all you need is one goal, one lucky break, and you can win every game like that. That's how Arsenal play, and it's very boring to watch at times, unfortunately. But as long as they win the championship, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, coming from you, I mean, someone who's a shooter, right? Who likes to score goals.
Yeah.
Well, do you think there will be Cinderella stories similar to like March Madness, where all of a sudden, like a team out of nowhere, just
Absolutely. Absolutely. So last World Cup, Morocco made it to the semifinal and actually put up a fight against France in the semifinal. They had opportunities to go up in the game, didn't, and then France went on to win. But there's just so much unpredictability to the tournament. The fact that the amount of pressure, and you can't say to me, and I get these are professionals that have dealt with every situation, but they feel the pressure. There is a country relying on them to perform, not just their city, not just a state, a country of millions and millions of people. So that in itself will provide a lot of variance to results. Some players that are playing even better than they ever imagined. Some of the best players falling below their level. No, there will absolutely be dark horses. Again, the U.S. should be one of them because of the fact that we are hosting the tournament.
well, I mean, talk about some of the fans. I mean, fans in soccer. I mean, it's a whole nother level, right?
Yeah, so there was this African tournament I alluded to. It's called the African Cup of Nations that just finished yesterday. And there was a fan from the Democratic Republic of Congo. There was a fan. He was honoring some political figure, and he stood up at every game for 90 plus minutes with he was saluting or with his hand up. He stood dead still, did not move a muscle for each game. So 90 plus minute plus halftime, he didn't move. And I was watching this, and I was just in awe. First of all, that you would, number one, go to a game and just stand there still, but number two, the dedication to your country. I just had never seen anything like it. I can show you the clip. It's really inspiring. He did not move a muscle. It's like the St. Joe's hawk that always flaps his wings, but I think that's easier than standing still, in my opinion. Especially when you're watching a game and you're attached to what's going on to not break character or whatnot. So that was just something I picked up on from the one of the Congolese fans. But yeah, the passion associated with the sport is it's the closest thing to it is Philly sports fans. Let's be honest. I mean, you go to an Eagles game, it's not much different. But I do think the difference is the passion in playing for your country. And now we're talking about it's more than just the game.
You know, in this in let's just compare American football to soccer real quick. I mean, you talk about in American football, right? You have the quarterback. So typically he's the one that everyone focuses on, right? As the main player.
Mm.
Who's the main player in soccer?
Yeah, it depends on the team. I think the most important player, again, also varies. I think goalkeeper is such a unique position, and I think that's the most similar to a quarterback because quarterback can make 35 good throws a game, but that 36 that turns into a pick six and loses the game, you remember him for it. Same with the goalkeeper. You can make 7 amazing saves, but that 8 shot that you let in, that's the only thing that you see on the scoreboard. You don't see how many saves you have. So I think the goalkeeper exudes if he is a strong figure, and he communicates in a good way, he can promote so much confidence in a team. And on the other hand, if you have a goalie that's not strong and doesn't look confident, it trickles forward. You're almost like, I need to score 3 goals today because I know my goalkeeper is going to give up at least 2.
We talked about that we were going to talk about technology
Mm.
in soccer and how it's being
Yeah.
used, but you think just let's talk about it from this perspective, from a penalty kick, right?
Mm.
Where or a penalty shot, right? I mean, like you have a
Hmm.
shot on goal, right? Do you go through your mind like, okay, I know this goalie is not really is better going to his left, to his right, this that. I mean, like, are you thinking about all those things? How do you deal with that?
So I'll flip it to the contrary. Goalies now will have a water bottle and will say this player goes to the left most of the time. This player goes to the right. This player goes to the right. And again, I keep going back
What do you mean? Like
to
it's written on the what?
he writes on his water bottle like a playbook for a penalty shootout. Alex goes to his left or down the middle to the right. The second player. So, I mean, it's an like being a goalkeeper, being a good penalty saving goalkeeper is a humongous advantage. The USA actually, the reason the USA goalie, who's actually a Harvard grad, a Episcopal Academy grad, or Episcopal Academy and Haverford, I think he went, Episcopal Academy grad, a local mainline kid is now going to be the starter of the 2026 World Cup U.S. men's national team soccer team, which is a story in itself. But the reason he really cemented his place is he had a PK shootout this past summer where he saved 3 penalties. And it was like, you know what? If he can save penalties, he can do at least one part of the game really well. But they write down on their water bottles, what way people go. So on the contrary, I'm sure attacking players know the tendencies of goalies, but it comes down to it's a mind game. It doesn't have to do with your ability. Look, if you put the ball in the top corner, the goalie's not going to save it, but it's also people shoot down the middle, people chip the ball down the middle, and it's a mind game. It's just you. I'm gonna go. It's like a game of chess. Who's gonna go? Who's gonna move first? The goalie, the player. It's hard to watch as a fan, to be honest, because there's just so much pressure. It really is a. But when you go to the technology piece, like you said, I'm sure there are advantages you can get, but again, going back to when you do something in a controlled environment versus a situation like a World Cup penalty, it's really hard to emulate that with any sort of technology or statistics.
I mean, you're taking thousands and thousands of kicks, right, in
Yeah,
practice. But then when the lights are on and the world's watching, it's tough.
yeah, it's different. It's completely different. It turns into, like I said, it's just it's the mental piece, the mental side. I think that's where the players that are really confident and can deal with all the shenanigans. I mean, goalies will stall. They'll kick they'll dig up the penalty spot. Sometimes they'll kick up the penalty spot and a player will wipe out. Like there's mind games that go on. You got the fans behind the net that are God knows what explicit, what they're shouting to the players. Yeah, it's a crazy concept when you really think about it.